There are many reasons why people are looking forward to Jedi Fallen Order. For one, this is one of the first single-player, narratively driven Star Wars video games since EA got the Star Wars license. After the catastrophe with the two new Battlefront games release, a lot of Star Wars fans believe that having Star Wars gaming license falling exclusively into the hands of a greedy company like EA means death to Star Wars gaming. This is why a lot of us are surprised to hear that Jedi Fallen Order is not only going to be a single-player game, but also free of loot boxes and microtransactions, which is extremely rare considering EA's widely known exploitative business model in the past many years. People talk about many things about Jedi Fallen Order when they're waiting for this game. They talk about the gameplay mechanics, they talk about customization options, and they talk about whether this game is going to outdo or simply become a pale imitation to the Force Unleashed games or the Jedi Knight game series. For me, the one thing I'm most looking forward to and caring about is the story. A story that centers around a young Jedi around my age, told through video game storytelling, and finally happens in canon as what the older Star Wars games had always contributed to the old expanding universe. The first several years after Disney bought Star Wars from George Lucas hadn't exactly been easy for Star Wars fans. The expanding universe that had been going on for over 35 years had been cancelled, taking Luke's New Jedi Order and The Force Unleashed 3 down along with it, leaving Starkiller's trilogy unfinished. The Clone Wars TV series got cancelled and replaced by Rebels, an animated series that was lowered in both maturity and animation quality. The show ending after 4 seasons and get replaced by Resistance, another animated series with even lower maturity and animation quality than Rebels. Replacing the expanding universe's post-Return of the Jedi storyline is the 2 sequel movies that resets the story direction back to another Rebels vs. Empire rehash without doing much to expand the world building, and ended up having 2 beloved OT protagonists killed off instead. The death of Luke Skywalker igniting one of the greatest fan civil wars that lasted for almost 2 years, unlike anything we've ever seen before, even back when the prequel trilogy came out. Star Wars means different things to different people. To the older generation who grew up with the original trilogy, it is probably more about the X-Wings, TIE Fighters, and Star Destroyers, and the simple Rebels vs. Empire story in the tone of space fairy tales. Being someone who watched all 6 of George Lucas's Star Wars films in chronological order, however, Star Wars for me has always been an epic space mythology. A centuries-old war between the Jedi and the Sith, a fight for the only thing that matters, to achieve peace and balance in the Force that determines the fate of the galaxy. It is one of the major reasons why, comparing itself to The Mandalorian, Jedi Fallen Order is more of the story I've been waiting for since Disney bought Star Wars. The only other canon material in the visual media outside the movies that had touched upon the death of the Force is Star Wars Rebels. But for me, that storytelling experience had always been watered down by childish animation style and distractingly colorful art designs. Rebels aside, Jedi Fallen Order is probably the first original Star Wars story in canon that really touches upon the Force without being hindered by lower budget or the intent to underestimate the intelligence of children nowadays simply to be kid-friendly. It is one of the first Star Wars story outside the movies that has a chance to reach its full potential with a combination of advanced modern gaming mechanics, superb quality in cinematic graphics, and mature storytelling that builds intimacy between the players and the protagonist in the canon continuity. One of the biggest spotlights about Jedi Fallen Order's story is that it is written by Chris Avellone, the same guy who wrote the story for Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. If you've played KOTOR 2, you know that game is best known for deep, complex, multi-layered characters like Mitra Surik, the Jedi Exile, Adam Rand, and especially Kreia/Darth Traya. You know how the game deeply dives into the mythology of the Force and deconstruction toward the Jedi Code. Having the same guy who wrote KOTOR 2 storyline work his magic on Jedi Fallen Order means there's a high possibility we can finally get a quality Star Wars story surrounding the Jedi and the Sith that is on par with those from the expanded universe. While many gamers see in the new Star Wars video game simply a new video game with the Star Wars brand on it, I see in the new Star Wars video game the great potential to create stories that really expand upon the mythology and world building and introduce new worlds, new alien creatures, and new amazing characters that fans can be emotionally invested in and earn their place as iconic mythological figures in the Star Wars lore. That's what KOTOR did when it introduces characters like Darth Revan and Bastila Shan, and it's what The Force Unleashed did when it introduces Starkiller, Darth Vader's secret apprentice who ended up being the main inspiration for the creation of the Rebel Alliance in the expanded universe continuity. So far, I haven't seen any new characters created after Disney owned Star Wars that earn iconic places like that in the Star Wars canon. Original characters like Iden Versio from the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign had potential, but that potential ended up being far from fulfilled when both her defection to the rebellion and her death in the campaign DLC feel extremely rushed. As for Ezra and Kanan in Star Wars Rebels, you can see so many parallels between their costume design and characters from The Force Unleashed that you feel like Ezra Bridger and Kanan Jarrus are just watered down versions of Starkiller and Rom Kota. In the next following months, I feel like The Mandalorian in Disney Plus's upcoming TV series has the greatest potential to be one of the first new iconic Star Wars characters in Star Wars canon. One placed in similar category to space cowboys like Han Solo or bounty hunters like Boba Fett. When it comes to the lore connected to Jedi vs Sith and the Force, however, I've always believed that Cal Kestis, the lead of the Jedi Fallen Order video game, will be the first to take that iconic spot, to be Starkiller or Kyle Katarn's canon counterpart, but at the same time with a distinct identity of his own. Starkiller is known to be the secret apprentice of Darth Vader who inspired the creation of the rebellion. Kyle Katarn is known to be an ex-Imperial turned rebel that ended up becoming one of the members of Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order. Cal Kestis is a Padawan who survived Order 66, and there's a lot of storytelling potential for a character setting like that. You can talk about the heavy emotional stakes involved through the people he lost when Order 66 was issued, the moments he had to refrain from helping people with his force powers to avoid getting discovered by the Empire, or being drawn out by enemies who use the lives of people he care about as leverage, etc. Contrast to Starkiller's position as this unstoppable force, Cal's story is more about the tense, desperate, and helpless feeling of one boy running from an entire army, until he joins the crew of another former Jedi, Ser Junda, turning this into one small ragtag group against the whole galaxy. I always believe that in a setting like this, the writers are provided with a lot of space and ideas to shape Cal into a character with strong emotional weight given by the friends he cared about, the ones he's not ready to lose, and whether he'll have to throw his own life away saving any of them, especially under the occasion of him not being protected by plot armor from the movies. Even though there's technically no Jedi around aside from Luke Skywalker during the events of the original trilogy, I really don't want every single Jedi survivor that shows up between episode 3 and 4 being labeled ready to die just because of it. It's getting more and more predictable and turning into a lazy way to write a character out of the storyline, and I want to see if the writer have more in store for Cal's character. Whether it is an emotional Red Dead Redemption style death at the hands of Darth Vader, or a miraculous survival past Return of the Jedi as Ezra did that in a way made Luke Skywalker unable to reach him during the original trilogy. I want to see how the writer manages to pull that off. I want to see Cal Kestis becoming one of the first of the new Disney canon protagonists that reminds me there are some characters worth being emotionally invested in within this rebooted continuity. One more reason for me to be interested in Jedi Fallen Order is Cameron Monaghan, the actor casted to play Cal Kestis. I never expected to see a familiar face when the game was announced. I almost forgot that with the technology for making games being more and more advanced, more and more gaming companies have been using appearances of famous movie actors or TV actors to base the characters' appearance on. Cameron Monaghan is a very talented young actor, He is most well known for his role as Ian Gallagher from Shameless and the Joker from Gotham, both of which were phenomenal performances. It is quite refreshing to see Cameron play a role that is not crazy and possesses clear, positive morals for once, but you can also observe how the emotional vulnerability he successfully demonstrated in previous roles is going to contribute well to his role as Cal in Jedi Fallen Order as this young Jedi who just survived a massive genocide. I can't wait to see what new life Cameron is going to bring into the Star Wars universe, and I'm very looking forward to experience the story for myself when I get my hands on it in mid-November to play as Cameron himself. That's all I've got for this time. Do you think Jedi Fallen Order is going to present us with one of the best Star Wars stories in the new canon? Do you think that Cal Kestis is going to be an iconic video game character in Star Wars like Starkiller and Kylo Katarn did in the expanded universe? Be sure to drop your comments in the comment section below. If you like my video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more video essays about Star Wars. My name is Perseus Cal, and I will see you again in the next video. Peace out.